Hi guys.
Hi, I'm back. By popular demand.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel.
My ear, isn't it?
Basically, I made Hadia wait for like 10 hours and
It's currently like 10 o'clock and I'm only starting to eat now. The food came about 6 hours ago.
We're gonna do a mukbang today. Oh, do you think we're gonna get that label fine, whatever it is? Copyright.
What's a label fine?
I don't know how to film and talk. I don't see the point of this. Like, what now?
Film and talk, what do you normally do? Just
No, but talk and eat.
when I'm talking, you eat. When you're talking, I eat.
I think it's rude. Do you not feel like we should offer the audience some? It feels a bit rude eating in front of people.
Not like you're polite. You made me wait for 2 hours.
Basically, I'm eating chicken and... Do you tell them what you eat?
No one asked. Literally no one asked.
We're just getting to the video. We're also drinking champagne.
Yeah.
Cheers. We were going to talk about toxic positivity. So on this Google definition, it says, toxic positivity is the belief that no matter how dire or difficult a situation is, people should maintain a positive mindset. It's a good vibes only approach to life. When I first actually thought about toxic positivity, whatever, I kind of thought, do you know the standard? How can something like positivity be toxic? Anything in excess can become toxic. But I was still of the thinking that something what?
She was still on the sorry.
Probably through a lot of my life thought that positivity was the solution to someone's, say, hardship or something, because I would have thought that everybody needs some sort of like perspective sometimes.
Gratitude.
And like gratitude allows you to feel better and puts your life in a position where it's like if you have context, I would have thought that gives you some sort of relief. But I do think the whole good vibes only approach to life, that I think is where I would see there can be problems.
There needs to be gratitude in things, I think.
What is funny exactly?
I don't know. I'm so sorry. I just said I think a lot. But
just see what we have to deal with in this house.
Being grateful for certain things does put things into perspective, and it can help you get through tough times, I think, because you're kind of relating other people's situations to your own. But I think sometimes that leads to people invalidating their own experiences, and sometimes it's very valid to be feeling a certain way, but it becomes so like, I'm only going to be positive, I only need to be positive, that you're not even feeling your negative emotions that should be, because you're still feeling them.
You somewhat suppress them.
It's suppressing them, exactly.
Yeah. I think where it becomes problematic can be, say you've gone through a series of negative experiences basically, and you go and explain that to someone. First thing you then hear is, be positive, look at the bright side of things, that sort of thing. I feel like there is a time and a place for that, 100%, and I think that's really important. But now I'm sort of thinking that if you do that too early on, does that mean that you're not able to process the emotions that you actually have to process?
I feel like it kind of get into a cycle. So if you've been through a hard time and you found that very hard yourself, but you're presenting it as something that's very positive, actually there's this to see, there's this to see.
Oh yeah.
If people come to you or they're experiencing the same thing and they're feeling rubbish about it, they're then going to be thinking, oh hang on, this person got through it and was really positive, but in reality they weren't. And that's again just another level of suppression for other people though.
Because the thing is, you obviously, in a world that like nowadays, like we base a lot of our life and like our perception of life off social media, and we already all know the limitations of like people's lives that you actually witness on social media. In seeing all those positive experiences, even if it's talking about a negative experience, because you didn't go through that journey that someone was on in getting to the positive point, you're only meeting them at the end of it while you're in a place that's bad. Of course you're not going to feel the same way, but you're going to be expected to, you're going to expect yourself 100%. To. Now I can understand where that is problematic.
I know that I've been in situations where I've not always felt the best, but I'm thinking, okay, everyone else around me is going through something worse, or this person's, so I'm invalidating what I'm feeling, and then I'm like, okay, just be positive, but inside I'm not. It's just there, so it's just masking everything, like you said, suppressing the emotions.
That stage maybe needs to come later.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily that maybe it needs to come later. I think everybody's on their own journey. So if you go through a situation, your initial emotions that you might be experiencing, even if you're telling a friend that has gone through a very, very similar experience, obviously everybody's situation is unique.
Yeah.
Even if you're explaining it to someone that you would think has empathy because they've gone through something so similar, their emotions that they experience, because they're a different individual, could be entirely different.
Yeah.
You could start off being angry and blah blah blah. Their initial thought could be, thank God for this, or like, I'm so grateful for this. Like, that isn't always the same for everyone, and we often make ourselves feel bad for thinking that, like, okay, where's my gratitude? But it's actually like, well, you've gone through something so difficult. Should you then inflict that on yourself, that you should have that gratitude at that point?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we need to stop comparing ourselves to other people. And I know that I do this a lot as well. So if I'm feeling something, I'll think, actually, I'm not going to say this to this person because they're going through this. Or like,
I put too much in my mouth. I don't know how to digest it on camera.
No one needs to see your stomach.
Unless you want to. Obviously, you never know what someone's actually experienced in their life. You could look at someone and think, oh, they've had an easy life. Why are they allowed to have a certain mental health condition when they haven't experienced true trauma or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Like, firstly, you never know what someone's actually gone through. And secondly, you can't compare pain because you never know how hard something hits someone. You could go through an experience that is deeply traumatic. Someone else could go through something that you wouldn't compare in that same way, but
it's equally as traumatic.
It's equally as traumatic for them because it's relative. It's relative to like who
you are,
who they are, what they've experienced in their life,
and your ways of dealing with things as well, and how you deal with pain.
The problem is that if you're gonna critique something like positivity, how are you ever gonna find a balance? Like, how is anybody or any society ever going to find something where something is not problematic? Because on one side, you're like, okay, this and this is going wrong. And then on the flip side, you're like, okay, this is a problem with this. Then where do you find the balance?
The part where it becomes toxic is when you're using that as a solution for feeling any kind of pain or any kind of sadness or problem in your life. And I don't think it always can be used like that. And even like the whole self-care and all of that kind of things, like look after your mental health, I think that's so opposite to toxic positivity. If you're really trying to understand your emotions, take care of yourself, you need to be able to nurture the parts of you that aren't always accepted by society or aren't always seen as grateful or whatever, because you're feeling it at the end of the day. And if you're feeling some kind of emotion, you need to take time to understand that.
I don't think, obviously, as a society, we're not educated on how to deal with pain. You're not, like, taught that, okay, anything to do with emotions, we're not taught what to do with them. And so, as people, we don't actually know, one, the way that we should be functioning. Two, what is normal, what is not normal. Three, what do we do with the emotions? And whether they're normal or not normal, what do we do with them? How do we handle them? If we don't know how to deal with our emotions, then of course something like toxic positivity will come up, or like any form of positivity will come up, and that's a way of people trying to address that. But I agree that now, as a society or whatever, we're looking at how the negative effects of that response to the situation, and in recognising that, I think the thing that needs to be addressed is how we actually deal with our emotions. And even if we're going to go and feel our emotions or feel our feelings, we need to be taught it in a way that's not problematic. Because obviously, so for some people, they could re-traumatise themselves.
How I deal with my emotions is so different how you would deal with your emotions. People should be able to feel their emotions however best their brain wants to work and how they can deal with it on their own. Because so often we can get caught up in looking at other people and being like, oh, hang on, they were sad for 2 days and then they got over it, but I've been sad for 5 days. Maybe that's just how you deal with things.
The other thing is you don't know what you're attaching something to. So say you could be going through an experience like a breakup, and it's not that you're, obviously it takes getting over the person and getting over that situation, that experience and everything, but more than that is that you don't know what issues you've attached emotions from that situation to from your past, or like other things it's created. Like, you just don't know that for people. It's not always just about that one specific situation that they're going through at the time. Sometimes, like, if you're going through something, you could be upset about something you were actually going through years ago, and it's just you were triggered by an emotion that you felt years ago, and now you're re-feeling that and you're actually upset about that. I don't know if that's actually a thing, and I don't know if
I think
I
that's
can
100%.
say that, because obviously I'm not
But
educated enough in that area, but I think that might happen.
I think that as well links back to the whole toxic positivity thing, because maybe you trying to be positive in that moment years ago is what led you to brush over it, and now years later you're revisiting that same emotion in a different experience because you never solved it back then.
Going back to the breakup example, say you go through something, you go through a breakup when you're like, I don't know, 18 or something, and then you just let time pass, and that is what allows you to get over it. You do go through a lot of positivity and like now, but you go through that whole experience, you eventually feel better, blah blah blah. You get to like 23, then go through another breakup. So a lot of the things that you're experiencing are emotions that you haven't dealt with back then, or issues that you haven't addressed back then. So I think that often we experience things that are from before, not necessarily within the now.
Yeah.
But they can be re-triggered by a new experience.
Yeah.
And I get how toxic positivity can perpetuate that.
Yeah. I think it's so important as well, like you were saying, to create a space where we can talk about our negative emotions without it being a negative thing in itself. So I can come to you and be like, I'm just so sad today, and talk about all the reasons I'm sad, get that out, feel what I'm feeling, and then at the end of it you can offer some advice and be like, actually, what about this? Or maybe you can look at it in this way. And if I'm not feeling that, I can still feel sad, and maybe when I'm ready to hear that, I can come back.
Yeah.
But I feel like people these days are so, like myself included, are so scared to have conversations that are negative, because maybe it's because we're afraid it will trigger something within ourselves that we're not feeling okay with, or what. But to have a conversation with someone where it's just purely, okay, I'm feeling rubbish about this, how are you feeling? Yeah, I'm feeling rubbish about this. Where it's not just, oh, at least we're positive, at least this is happening, at least this is happening.
But do you know what?
Important.
Sometimes when you're feeling so down or whatever, or you're in a place that is not good, and you're trying to make yourself then be like, then you're saying to someone, but thank God for this, I'm still alive, I still have a roof over my head, which I still think all those things, of course. It is exhausting.
Yeah,
it can be so mentally draining for you to even make those own comments yourself, because it's like, and now I'm understanding where that feeling of it being so draining is coming from, and I think it's coming from a place of, I am not feeling that way.
Yeah.
So
it
why
becomes
am I,
like robotic.
Yeah.
Like you're just regurgitating these
That's
positive statements,
what it feels like,
but not feeling it.
And I think we should question how positive are we actually meant to feel as human beings, because I don't know if we know how normal ups and downs are, and like that those lows and things, maybe normalizing that has some role or some importance. It's a normal human response to feel bad about something. Like it's completely normal human way of being to react to a situation in a way that you feel emotions that are negative or whatever.
And the same way that you shouldn't always be sad, you can't always be happy, and you can't always be positive. Sometimes you need to feel negative to feel positive. How can you always feel positive if there's no negativity at all? It just doesn't make sense.
I think I'm at fault for doing this as well, but often when people ask me for advice, I would just say a lot of statements like, everything happens for a reason, and like, just look at the bright side. Well, I don't even say that, but just like people would say things like, look at the bright side of things, and like just see all the positives and blah blah. And I think that is so important, and 100% stand by all those statements. But is that wrong of me in the sense that maybe I should have addressed that situation just by saying, listen, I understand that what you're going through right now isn't easy. Just listening to the person and being there and hearing that, okay, this is hard. And that's okay that it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine for it to be that way. There's a time and a place for me to then give you that outlet. Yeah. But it's not at the beginning necessarily. Yeah. And it might be, but it might not be.
Yeah. But that's not to say that there's no room for positivity at all, because that obviously is.
And so there's so much positive that's needed in the world.
And gratitude and things, I think, is so important. Like, so important. It just becomes a problem when you're masking your negative emotions with that.
I think we should also all start to think a bit about if our response to a situation or to a person that we're, even a friend, is a positive overload, and think about what they might be experiencing, have empathy or sympathy for what they're going through, and just think for a second, is this the right time for them to hear that? And maybe that is a start.
Yeah.
And we can move forward from there a bit. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. It was kind of just a chat, our opinions a bit. We might do like something similar if you guys liked it.
Let us know.
Yeah.
And your opinions as well. Drop them in the comments.
Like, comment and subscribe for more videos.
Stay positive. The irony.